There's no secret formula for scaling support and boosting customer satisfaction. But there is the all-new Service Hub from HubSpot. It makes it infinitely easier to scale customer support and increase retention. By bringing service and support together in one powerful platform, you can deliver the best experiences for your customers and your teams. Free up time for your reps to focus on complex issues with an AI-powered help desk. Proactively drive retention with customer health scores that help keep your business ahead, stopping churn in its tracks. And give your entire go-to-market team the data they need to operate as one unified, powerful front. All so you can better connect with customers and keep them happy. Secrets out. HubSpot Service Hub is a game changer. Visit HubSpot.com/service to do more for your customers today. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday, May 31st. I'm John Weigell here with Ben Berkley, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. A napkin was just auctioned off for $965,000. This, of course, was no ordinary napkin, as it has the early outline of Lionel Messi's first FC Barcelona contract on it. But it still brings up some questions about the historical napkin economy that apparently exists. So how much are people shelling out for these potentially used rags, and how many life-changing deals were written on napkins? We'll get to that in a bit, but first, let's give you the hits and headlines in business and tech. Starting us off here, Amazon is expanding its Prime Air service after securing FAA approval to fly its delivery drones farther. Maybe this means I'll actually see one. The feds had to approve Amazon's obstacle avoidance tech before its drones were allowed to fly beyond the operator's line of sight. Ben, have you seen any of these ever? I just still haven't seen them.
I have not. And I guess it's extra surprising just because a little extra context here. Alphabet's Wing, which is the competitor to Amazon in this space, they did reach the same level of approval back in December, and they've been working with Walmart and DoorDash trying to expand on the whole drone delivery thing. So there are quite a bit out there, but they have been in pretty focused test locations. But this is a really big moment for Amazon in terms of catching up to the competition. You know, if they were going to ever make their goal of, I think they set 500 million packages per year by 2030 delivered by drone, this is how you get there.
It seems like they're on track, and they've kind of expanded that territory, so maybe they'll be within our areas sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I'd also just note that this wasn't a given. They have to showcase this tech for FAA inspectors, and they have to prove that their drones can autonomously pick up planes and helicopters and hot air balloons. I don't think they've proven that they avoid teens throwing rocks and whatnot, but they probably should, because that's just going to be happening all day, every day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, here in New York and there in LA, probably specifically more than anywhere else.
Yeah, I will hand a teenager a rock and say, please,
go for it.
Take
Billy.
your best shot.
It's your moment to shine. Next, Dollar Tree acquired leasing rights for 170 shuttered 99 cents only locations in Texas, Arizona, Nevada, and California during bankruptcy proceedings and will reopen the stores under its brand. If I just had $1 for every Dollar Tree I've seen, I'd be a very rich man. Next, Taco Bell is bringing giant Cheez-Its to the masses. The only way I could say giant Cheez-Its is very loudly. After testing out 2 menu items made with a Cheez-It 16 times the normal size in Irvine, California, the chain is taking the collaboration nationwide. Ben, how excited are you for these big old Cheez-Its?
I mean, I guess the news does not make me hungry, which says a lot about me, I suppose. I don't know why it doesn't appeal to me, but it does make me very reflective. Like, how lucky are we to be alive in this era? You know, you've got like the CRISPR technology that could be saving lives. You've got computer whatevers that can make humanity more productive than ever. And then we've just got these Taco Bell mad scientists who are just at the top of their game.
This is something that I would put in relativity to the Panera bread hat of last month, just the innovation stylings. And Taco Bell's always out to make something new and ridiculous, and they've just done it again. All right, on to Netflix. Netflix is perhaps hoping to cash in on the success of Fallout and The Last of Us with a Minecraft TV show. The animated series will feature new stories and characters, but little else is known about it, except for my 5-year-old cousin will be very happy. And finally, speaking of Fallout, not only is the show Amazon's second most watched show, its immense popularity has led to a 600% increase in players across the video game franchise's titles. Now that's a big jump, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this all checks out to me. Like, you look at Fallout and The Last of Us, which were both quite good.
Yeah.
And what do you know? That actually worked. Like, I think that there's hope that studios have learned their lesson when it comes to adapting great IP. If you make fewer things slower and better, it will actually magnify the strength of that IP going forward. You know, as long as you make something that doesn't suck, good things happen.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many lessons that we've seen here with Marvel and Star Wars just like oversaturating their fan bases and diluting quality. And then here, I think you just see like Amazon redeeming itself with Fallout. And, you know, it wasn't that long ago that they spent nearly $500 million on that snoozy Lord of the Rings series that nobody watched.
Oh boy, yeah, and they spent a lot of money on that Halo series too. But what you said before, if you take video game IP, there's a lot of great video game IP out there. If you take the IP, you treat it well, and you spend a ton of money on it, maybe it'll just work out in your favor.
Yeah, and the more people that are playing the games now, the more that you assume will be watching season 2 whenever that rolls around. And so it shouldn't be so hard, but just make a good thing. Take the time to make a thing good, and then people will come to it.
Exactly. Okay, so our big story today is about the used napkin economy. This was all ignited by the sale of a napkin with Lionel Messi's first FC Barcelona contract inscribed on it. So let's see what else the napkin industry has been hiding all this time, if anything. So Ben, can you first tell us about this very famous napkin?
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's just take a step back here for a second. You know, as we bring May to a close, seemed like a nice opportunity to dive deeper into one of the most interesting money stories of the month, which just happens to be this pricey little napkin. And, you know, of course, it isn't just a napkin. This is considered one of the most consequential documents in sports history. You know, this is the initial promise made in 2000 from FC Barcelona that they would sign a 13-year-old Argentinian sensation, Lionel Messi, who would then go on to become, you know, the GOAT of the soccer world, known across the globe. And so, you know, when this little 16.5 centimeter by 16.5 centimeter paper napkin, all marked up with its little blue ink splotches, got out there on the auction block, people got really worked up.
Seems like they did. Almost $1 million worth of worked up.
Yeah, I mean, like the hype here, I'm going to take it out of my own words here. The auction house expert behind this sale called it, quote, one of the most thrilling items I have ever handled. You know, there's an English soccer coach who said this was like finding a sketch of the Mona Lisa on like a standard piece of paper before the original was completed.
Wow.
Like, there's a lot of hype here. And, you know, it did work, selling for just under $1 million.
It did. I mean, when you have something from early in Lionel Messi's career, a person who is probably the most famous athlete in the entire world, that's a pretty big deal. And the fact that it consequentially was written all on a napkin, and somehow this napkin has withstood the test of time and got bought at this auction for $965,000 is pretty sensational. But is there more on this? I think that's the big thing here. Is I'm assuming this Messi contract would sell if it was written on practically anything, like a table or a cup holder. But for the napkin industry, is this happening? Has this happened before?
You know, okay, so as I was reading about this, I was just thinking there actually are a decent amount of other napkins in history. Can they hold up to this? Like, it kind of all begged the question, is there actually money in historical napkins? Which, that's a rabbit hole I didn't think I'd ever fall down, but I did. And the answer was kinda, yeah. Like, definitely not $965,000 life-changing money. You know, I think this Messi napkin really seems to be an anomaly in this regard. There's also generally like a big markup in sports figures that's seen in like the memorabilia space. But there's just a lot of strange napkins of prominence actually floating around out there. And so, you know, it's just like very strange juxtaposition where you've got this product that you ordinarily find at like 1 cent per ply. And then if you come across one that's flirted with history, you could really enrich your bank account.
Yeah, it really sounds like it. What were some other famous napkins and how were they sold? Was anything reaching the heights of this financially, the Messi napkin?
So the next highest selling napkin that I have found actually went for $325,000, which is pretty significant still.
Pretty good.
That was a Marilyn Monroe lipstick imprinted napkin. I think that actually might have been a handkerchief, but some really prominent ones. Like I think there was also a lipstick one from Margaret Thatcher that got a lot of press and a lot of interest a couple years back. That really only got like $3,000.
Okay.
So it kind of like pulls into focus just how strange this Messi situation is. But, you know, trying to figure out if there were other really big ones out there, what they could go for, turned out to be a really tough task.
Yeah, it seems like you've listed a couple other here that are with like celebrities that we would expect, kind of like signatures of like an Elton John, Elvis Presley you have here. And weirdly enough, O.J. Simpson, which looked like it only sold for $86 comparatively.
Shocked me. Yes.
Shocking. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of a wider story of hugely curated collections of items that you and I would never really think about otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the other prominent napkins in this world, again, what am I talking about? Prominent napkins. You know, they seem very unlikely to ever hit the market. So a couple that I had pointed out, you know, the first drawing of the Laffer curve, which was the precursor to trickle-down economics, that was devised on a napkin. That is Smithsonian owned.
Whoa.
I don't really see that hitting the auction block. You know, the founding story of Southwest Airlines is famously a napkin-drawn pitch that got that thing going. That story actually might have been embellished, it turns out. So that napkin probably doesn't exist. Then you have the napkin that was behind all the drama behind Chippendales, which turned into that Hulu show recently.
Wow.
That ended up in a murder for hire scheme. And so the best I could deduce here is that that's probably in an evidence locker and also not likely to hit the market anytime soon. And then there's just another famous one is an early Pixar business lunch that yielded like really productive meeting. They kind of like mapped out A Bug's Life, Monsters, Inc., Finding Nemo, and WALL-E in one lunch. Wow. Is the legend. If you think Disney's letting that get away, zero chance. So it feels like we will never see something reach Messi level, let alone even maybe Marilyn Monroe level.
Yeah, it seems that way. A lot of these are very much gated. You also seems like you found in your rabbit hole of napkin searching, which I need to see the Google search results here and the history. But you also have found some not so famous napkins up for sale as well.
Yeah, I will just say that I found some favorites. There are gems out there. You know, if you want to go back in history and see like what Sotheby's has sold in napkins over the last like 4 years, they've sold 6 figures in like napkin related stuff, like napkin rings and stuff from the Queen or whatever. But the favorites that I found, and I'm not going to put in a bid on them, though they are open for it right now. And, you know, if you're listening to this and you got $600 burning a hole in your pocket, there is a doodle of a centipede done by Pavarotti, which is pretty charming. And then for $650, if you want to step it up, there is a collection of stuff from Julia Child, which includes a dirty napkin that was inside of a book that they don't know if she actually ever touched it or used it, but they're kind of like, well, I mean, it's with her stuff.
It's something.
So come on and spend some money on it. So it's just a very strange space.
Yeah, it seems like it. And, you know, just for you and everybody listening, because of the episode structure today and the topic, I decided to write all of the podcast notes on a napkin. So if anybody would like to pay myself or Ben large sums of money for that, please get in touch.
I mean, it's only the right thing to do. You can do so much worse. Like there are so many terrible things out for sale. Someone's selling an old Taco Bell napkin for like $8,000 right now, or just a napkin used by a famous person. That's all it says. It doesn't tell you who it is. They're selling that for $24,000 on eBay right now. And to be clear, they listed it. Is anyone going to ever offer that? God, I hope not. But We've seen a lot of strange things already in going after this story.
We have. And now if anybody asks you, you will be very surprisingly knowledgeable about the subject. So that's good, at least.
Yeah, I'm going to get into napkin appraisal. I think that's going to be my new side gig.
All right, and that'll do it for us today. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email, and we'll see you later. Hey everybody, I got a great podcast to tell you about. It's called Truth, Lies, and Work, and it's brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. On this show, you can join husband and wife team Al and Leanne Elliott as they dispel myths, impart wisdom, and answer all your questions about finding, keeping, and motivating great people. They actually just did an episode with John Smith, who is the manager and agent of famous Argentinian soccer player Diego Maradona. He talks about in this episode how he was able to manage the global superstar, athlete, celebrity that Maradona is and was. It's a great listen. You better get out there and check it out. And you can listen to Truth, Lies, and Work wherever you get your podcasts.